Trying something new today. For all of those that wear wigs on a daily basis, I do not know how you do it. Thought I'd try it out today. But anyways, my name is Megan. I'm here to talk to you about everything I made this year, not about wigs. So let's jump in. I started out 2025 with making a bunch of baby things. My friend had their first child, and so I sent them a care package full of baby things. One was this bear onesie, which was about 4 sizes too big, and matching headband for mom so they could be baby bear and mama bear. I also did my first quilt. While I really wanted a custom quilt to be the gift, I didn't want to spend that much time. I've never made like a real proper quilt before, and I thought, oh, this will be a great opportunity. But until the kid is able to say, I love fire trucks, I want to be a fireman when I'm older, whatever, express their opinion, I'm going to hold off on spending like absolutely every spare moment for weeks on end making a quilt until they can tell me the things that they're interested in, and I will customize it in that direction. So what I ended up doing was free motion quilting for the first time on this, baby appropriate fabric, and then I did the trim in satin so that they could use it in the crib, in the changing area, the stroller, whatever. I also made my first stuffed animal. They are dog people for sure. So I made a dog with some material that I thought would be, baby appropriate, and tie in with their nursery. This pattern's super cute because it comes with like a leash and a collar and a bed if you wanted to make it. So if the child loves this toy, I can provide accessories in the future. And to finalize the gift, I made 5 finger puppets out of felt. I would love to try some needle felting, make them a little bit more 3D, but these finger puppets were super easy to construct and I think just very cute. In the winter, I also finished my Pendleton wool coat, which I started in the previous year thinking I would bring it on a trip with me. It just didn't happen in time, so I was finally able to finish it. It was my by far most expensive project I have ever worked on, and I'm very delighted with the results. Then I moved on to some fabulous pants. I used the pattern McCall's 8007, and I made 4 different pairs. The first pair I made out of this kind of lighter weight scuba knit that I thrifted years ago. I love the pattern. I thought they would be super fun as a pull-on flare pant, and they definitely were. So much so that I scrounged up some other scuba knit fabric that I had. Slightly different weight. It played with the pattern a little bit differently. Ultimately, they're a little bit weird, but a spare around the house pair of pants. And then the main material that I wanted to work with was this heavier weight, less stretchy scuba knit. So I ended up amending the pattern into a front zip pattern. Overall, this pattern is meant to work with non-stretch material. I amended it and made alterations to work with the scuba knit and to make them stretchy pull-on pants. So heads up, if you're loving the pants, there might be a better pattern out there for you. This is what I had in my stash. But anyways, getting back to those pants, I love them so much. I amended it so that there are 4 pockets in the front, 2 main pockets, and then 2 pockets on each side so that I can put my cell phone in my pocket and still sit down. I also added 2 welt pockets to the back. And overall, I love these pants so much that I scrounged up this material that I had been holding on for a pair of pants just like this for years, and I had been too lazy to do anything about it. This is a much, much lighter weight material, and so it played with the pattern a little bit more differently. They're super tall and stretchy, and I can fold them down, which actually has worked out really well. I wore them a ton this past year, and I absolutely love them. They are made with a double-brushed jersey material that I bought at Joann's years ago. I knit some projects. I did my first sweater, which was interesting. I used thrifted yarn that I absolutely loved. I didn't knit like a gauging test swatch. The yarn is so much more thick than you're supposed to use with this pattern, which is the Nurture Sweater by Dre Renee Knits. Love her patterns. They're wonderful and gorgeous, just as she is. But maybe I should stick with the pattern next time. This sweater is just so hot. And honestly, I knit it to be as large as it should be to fit me not realizing blocking, of course, would make it larger, and so it just fits a little bit weird, and so it might get recycled into something else. But I finally made my first sweater, which is a huge accomplishment. I am very pleased with myself. I rolled into knitting something else. Having the sweater be so hot, I decided to make a bolero, again with thrifted yarn, and I made that using this free pattern. I finally got around to making this vest, which is leftovers from a Woolrich jacket I had that years ago I thrifted. It's gorgeous. It didn't really fit, so I used the sleeves, took off the sleeves, used them for a different project, which I absolutely regret now. Knowing what I had, I can't believe I did that, but you live and you learn. As a new sewist, we all know, or if you're a new sewist yourself, you know that you just have to try the projects and you make the mistakes and you learn from your mistakes. So anyways, I was left with these 3 pieces, and I had dreamt about making kind of like a male-inspired Edwardian like pop collar vest, but of course I had limited material to work with. So what I ended up making was this, and I paid close attention to where I could do pattern matching, and overall I'm very delighted with the outcome, and I was able to use these thrifted brass buttons, which I think are super cute, and yeah, love the vest. I made another pair of lander pants with this thrifted upholstery fabric. I am super psyched with the turnover. Usually I thrift something, it sits in my stash for 10 years, and then I finally make it. But I thrifted this, and then the next week I made these pants, which I absolutely love, and I used these brass snaps to kind of play up and make the waistband a little bit more funky. And they're really playing into like my new appreciation for purple, and of course the funky upholstery print was super fun. Getting into spring, I made my dad some shirts. I did make him a shirt in the winter for his birthday out of this cotton I bought in Hawaii a couple of years ago. Ultimately, the fit was a little bit off. The first shirt I made him was a camp collar. He likes this style collar instead, and on this shirt it was just huge. So ultimately, for Father's Day, I ended up taking one of his old shirts that he loves how it fits. I disassembled it, created a pattern, and then created this shirt for Father's Day for him in this navy blue and pink flamingo cotton I got at Hobby Lobby. It is by far his favorite shirt of all time, so it was absolutely worth it. Now I have like the dad shirt pattern, and I can make him many more in the future. Then I moved on to making another pair of Persephone pants out of this fabric I bought at Core Fabrics. This was my first purchase from Core Fabrics. Over the years, I have drooled over some of their fabrics, but was too indecisive, and then by the time I maybe thought I knew what I wanted, they were gone. So when I saw these 2 colorways come up in this print, I snatched them up. I knew exactly what I wanted to make with them immediately. I knew the green I wanted to be a pair of pants and the pink to be a top. So I just made a pair of Persephone pants, but I did amend the back. Wearing purses like really bothers my shoulder now, and so I just don't always carry a purse with me, or, I mean, my phone is just so heavy. Sometimes my phone doesn't go in there, and I've been in the habit of putting it in a back pocket, so I added welt pockets to the back of these so that I could easily carry my phone around. Next, I made quite a few pairs of the Dawn jeans. If you'll have seen that video where I discuss making each style and how they fit and, you know, how I found the pattern, which is lovely. Love the pattern, really love the wide leg pair of pants, which I made using this lightweight canvas I bought at Hobby Lobby. They are definitely one of my favorites of the year. For the narrow leg, I used this thrifted material that I had. I can't remember the style of, it's a traditional fabric to be worn. It's a culturally significant fabric that's supposed to be worn in a specific way, and I'm spacing on what it's called, but go back to that video and I talk about it if you're curious. But it had a different weave throughout the pattern, but the weave changed a little bit throughout the fabric, so I was able to play around with that a little bit and have some, like, I don't know, contouring on the outside of my leg, the darker color on the outside, lighter on the inside, and then I left the fringe at the bottom, which I'm still on the fence about. I just have them cuffed at the moment. For the straight leg, I used this denim I bought at Joann's, which had a little bit of stretch to it, so I had to play around with it quite a bit and size down. I also played around with some sashiko on the back pockets for some decorative embroidery, which was one of my goals for 2025, so can check that one off the list. I'm very delighted with how these came out. I used some sashiko on the waistband as well, where the leather patch would normally be, and I think I need to go back and amend that. I did it in a different style than the pockets. I was having a really hard time transferring the design over and being able to see it, but I've thought of a different way to do it now, so I might have to go back and address that. And then finally, I made shorts. The first pair I made out of this thrifted material, kind of beigey, yellowy stripes. I thrifted it not that long ago, and I knew immediately what I wanted to do with it. I love when that happens, and these are a fantastic pair of shorts. So much so that I used the scrap denim that I had to make another second pair of shorts. Also using some sashiko on the back pockets in a slightly different style. Now I have to mention these pants. They're thrifted pants that I spent about a week hand painting. I used a stencil and a roller, and then I painted in between the stencils to connect the whole pair of pants. I thought they would take about a day. They took about 5 days, and I've been wearing them loads. They're low-waisted and super stretchy, so they're incredibly comfortable. They've been a big favorite of mine at the moment. I also mended loads of sweaters, finally, altered and repaired clothes that were in the to-do pile. And my final big spring project of this year was to work on the screened-in porch and turn it into more of a catio with this cat tower. As spring transitioned to summer, I worked on the Jenny overalls, a pattern that I've had in my stash for ages, and again, I decided to make all of the variations. First, I made just the normal overall straight leg style with this material I've held on for ages. Then I made just the pants version out of this like blue cloud, I think rayon that I bought at Joann's a long time ago. I had originally made them into a different pair of pants, and then I went back and altered them into the Jenny overall. I thrifted this curtain a while ago and immediately knew that I wanted to make a barrel leg version of the Jenny overalls, and I did. Then to finish everything off, I used this thrifted red-yellow curtain to make a shorts variation. I made a second pair of the coat trouser with another lightweight canvas I purchased at Hobby Lobby. I made this purple mesh top that I got to wear on a trip with some friends. I turned 40 this year, and the last couple years have not really been going my way. If you're familiar with my videos, you know. And so some friends surprised me with a birthday trip this spring to San Diego, and so I got to bring some of my me-mades with me. On the day we went to the zoo, I wore this purple top and then one of my altered jeans. While on that trip, I also brought an altered dress with me, which inspired some of my summer makes, but it was really nice to finally wear that dress out on a trip. Despite the gloomy gray weather, it was much nicer. Actually, no, I was going to say it's much nicer and warmer than New England was, but no, New England was sunny and warm, and the week we were gone, and San Diego was cold and cloudy. But I wore the dress anyways, I was determined. And then that brings me to the summer, which unfortunately I was not feeling very well, and so I did get some sewing done. I actually filmed a lot of it, but I did not have the energy to make any videos. So let me share all those makes with you now. In my summer sewing plans video, I talk about making this shirt, and I cut into some material thinking like, oh, it's a very simple pattern. If I have to, let stuff out here or there, take it in, whatever. The pattern was way off, the fit was way off. I had a lot of issues to work out with it, so I had to leave some of the shirts aside and move on to others while I figured out the fit. The first top that I made was with this leftover purple material from my Dawn jeans, and I was able to work it out so that I had the fringe at the bottom, and it worked out super, super cute. But I was still working out some fit issues, so I moved on to this purple striped material that was actually once a skirt that I purchased when I was 21 or 22 in Alaska, and I haven't worn it in years and years, but it holds some lovely memories from my college days with that material. So I decided rather than donating it, I would upcycle it into this shirt. And I decided to do a ruffle bottom with a tie closure at the back. Now that I had worked out the majority of the fit issues, I moved on to that beautiful pinky colorway of the core fabrics material. And it's lovely. I absolutely love it. It's a little bit longer maybe than some of the other cropped versions, and the back is slightly deeper V than the other back closures, but I really liked varying up this pattern with each material. Each material was such a different weight and draped differently, just felt differently, so it was nice to add these unique touches to each top. And lastly, I moved on to this material that I thrifted probably 12 years ago or so, and I had such a small amount of it. I was very cautious to cut into it, but once I had my pattern all worked out, I went ahead, cut into it, and I varied up the back closure so that it overlaps at the top and snaps into place. And this is by far my favorite top of this pattern, maybe my favorite top of the year, probably. In regards to alterations, I finally readdressed these Protea pants that I made last year, and they were so big on me. And I was able to take them in, keeping everything the same. I amended the waistband so that it had an adjustable back stretchy waistband, and then I used bias tape on the waistband lining that was hot pink. So it's just, you know, fun little touches. I was really glad that I was able to keep those, and now I have a pair of pants that actually fit. I'm really looking forward to warmer weather so I can wear those. But before all of this stuff, I worked on these two dresses. My first video this summer was supposed to be a release of a no pattern DIY tutorial onto how to make this dress. I was very inspired by the dress I brought to San Diego with me, and I wanted to recreate it. And I did in two different styles. Each dress is slightly different in its sizing as well as like some of its finishing details. The video is about 70% complete by the end of summer. I thought, you know, people probably don't want a summer dress tutorial in the middle of fall, so I stopped working on it. I hope to complete it and release it. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. If you like this dress, then I will obviously make that a priority. And that just about wraps it up for this year. Ooh, sorry, no, I'm also gonna be making some more knit caps. I'm also hoping to make a tutorial on how to do that. This is a wig. I am bald at the moment, and usually I just rock out with a cap on, but I'm running low and I kind of just want a variety of different weights. Some are going to be just like a knit single layer cap for lounging around the house and sleeping in, and then others are going to be a lined cap. So I would like to make a tutorial on how to make those. Very simple. Super comfortable and very cheap. So if you are, you know, wanting a hat just because you want a hat or because you're bald, it'll be a good tutorial. So hopefully I will get that out to you. But other than that, that concludes this year. I'm wishing you a happy holidays and a happy new year. May 2026 be everything that you hope for. And I will see you next year. Bye.